Good morning from Hunt City Congregational Christian Church. I want to talk this morning about Jesus washing his disciples' feet. John 13, 1 through 17. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour had come, that he should depart from this world to the Father, having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. And supper being ended, the devil having already put it into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, rose from the supper and laid aside his garments. He took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel with which he was girded. Then he came to Simon Peter, and Peter said to him, "Lord, are you washing my feet?" Jesus answered and said to him, "What I am doing you do not understand now, but you will know after this." Peter said to him, "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered him, "If I do not wash you, you have no part with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "He who is bathed needs only to wash his feet, but is completely clean. And you are clean, but not all of you." For he knew who would betray him. Therefore he said, "You are not all clean." So when he had washed their feet, taken his garments and sat down again, he said to them, "Do you know what I've done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Most assuredly I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is he who is sent greater than he who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them." 128 million people watched the Super Bowl last Sunday evening. It's estimated that 202 million was the total viewership, but they didn't watch the whole game. They just tuned in to watch some ads, or they tuned in to watch the halftime show, or maybe to get the score. But 128 million people watched the Super Bowl from start to finish. Taylor Swift was shown about a dozen times throughout the game. If you heard this news or not, during the Kansas City Chiefs celebratory parade in Kansas City, a few days after the Super Bowl, there was a shooting. A woman was killed and her child wounded. And Taylor Swift donated $100,000 to the family to help with expenses. 2 teens were apprehended in the shooting. How quickly a celebration turns into something sad. Of course, one of the highlights of the Super Bowl is the commercials, and there were some funny ones, some that made us scratch our heads because they were kind of dumb, but they got our attention anyway. One in particular was the most controversial of all. Many Christians have criticized it on social media. It's died down a little bit, but if you follow any Christian sites on social media, you probably saw discussion about this ad. And it's the one with the people washing other people's feet. Now, church, we're going to show the video of the ad. I'm not equipped to do that here, but some of the images show a white cop washing a young black man's feet. One shows a woman washing a Muslim woman's feet. A priest or clergyman is washing the feet of someone who appears to be gay. An abortion protester is washing the feet of a young lady who either is going into or coming out of the clinic. A woman is washing the feet of what looks to be an illegal immigrant. A woman is washing an alcoholic's feet. There are others too. There are others also. This ad was produced by an organization called HeGetsUs.com. They've been in existence for a few years. Critics of the ad say that it glorifies sin. Jesus would never wash the feet of unrepentant sinners. An uncountable number of Christians, unfortunately, hold this view. One comment on social media said, "This ad made me cringe. It's purposely misleading. Jesus only washed the feet of his disciples after they repented for their sins." Not quite sure. I don't think so. Another comment said, "Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, not random strangers. They were believers that needed to see humility so they did not become too prideful about their new way of thinking." Washing the feet of someone unrepentant is a theological gray area for me. and I did not like the tone of this commercial. Some were positive. One said, I love this commercial. It brought a tear to my eye. Jesus would love first. Who knows how people could change for the better if their feet were washed? Maybe that girl wouldn't get an abortion, or that gay person would choose to be celibate. Jesus' love is worth sharing to all, even sinners. Isn't that what Jesus wants us to do? Another one said, these modern evangelistic tactics are dishonorable. We cannot confuse people about what God clearly teaches as sin in the hopes that this confusion will advance his kingdom. Another positive one said, the message is simple. Jesus loves sinners. He washed feet as a way to show caring for and loving someone regardless of their sin. And that is what we Christians are supposed to do, hate the sin, but love the sinners. We are, in fact, all sinners. Well, he didn't, in the scripture we read, he didn't wash feet to show caring and loving, although it did. He did it as an example, right? It said that. Jesus said that himself. Anyway, the goal of the organization that produced this ad is to make us think about Jesus. It's to make us think about the people we disagree with. Would you wash the feet of someone who was different from you, politics-wise, theology-wise, denomination-wise? Would you wash the feet of someone who is gay, for certain gay, living the gay lifestyle? Would you wash the feet of a Muslim? Would you wash the feet of an illegal immigrant? Would you wash anyone's feet? Remember, in Jesus' day, he told a story where he made a Samaritan a hero. A Samaritan is someone no Jew would ever wash their feet, for sure. This organization had 30 seconds to make their point. People said they didn't say anything about atonement or repentance or what do I have to do to be saved. They didn't go far enough. Well, their goal was to make people think about Jesus and hopefully visit their website where more information about salvation could be obtained. I encourage you to visit their website. See if you find anything that is objectionable about it. This is an organization that claims no political affiliation, no denominational affiliation. They just want to promote Jesus because of the decline in our culture and the divisiveness in our culture and the hatred in our culture. Much of the criticism was about the cost of the ad, $7 million. If you look at it that way, though, $7 million to be viewed by 128 million people, if my math is right, that's about $17 or $18 a person. One of the biggest criticisms of the ad is this: that money could have been used to feed the hungry or provide shelter for the homeless. It could have been used to provide clothing for the poor. They were not being good stewards with the money. This was a waste of God's money. Well, that reminds us of another story that's in 3 of the Gospels. That's in Matthew 26, 6 through 13. And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil. And she poured it on his head as he sat at the table. But when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, "Why this waste? For this fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor." But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, "Why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Assuredly, I say to you, wherever the gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told as a memorial to her." So that shows us again what Solomon said: there's nothing new under the sun. The same criticisms of this Super Bowl ad were made back in Jesus' day as well. Now, again, this story is in 3 of the Gospels. In one of them, it's Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus, who does this. In one passage, it is Judas who complains about the waste of money. But what this woman did was an act of worship. It cost her. It was a sacrifice to her. This may have been, this fragrant oil may have been for her own burial or the burial of someone in her family. She may have worked and saved for many years to obtain this oil, and she poured it out on Jesus. No matter what the church does for the Lord, there will be critics. No matter what you try to do individually or as a family for the Lord, there will be those who criticize you for what you did or what your motives were, or how you did it, or how much you spent. Even Jesus was criticized for what he did numerous times. One time in particular when he healed a blind man on the Sabbath. Well, it was the Sabbath. You should not have done it. Jesus, you're hanging out with sinners. Jesus said, those who are sick or those who are well don't need a physician, but those who are sick. They accused him of not following the Mosaic law, even though he was the one who gave the law. They accused him of blasphemy for claiming to be God. He was God. The problem in our country is not Super Bowl ads. It's that our country has never been as divided as it is now. Sin has never been as accepted as it is now. Yes, sometimes even in the church. We need a revival in our land, and it needs to start here, right here. We need to get serious about prayer. We need to decide how bad we want to be like Jesus, or do we? We need to decide how we will grow in our faith. We need to decide if we're going to be foot washers or critics. The thing that stood out to me about this ad, and I hope that you will search it out. You can find it on YouTube or other websites. The thing that stood out to me about this ad was the fact that the person who was doing the foot washing, who was washing the person's foot, if you look at them, their shoes were off also, implying that their feet either had been washed or were going to be washed. The ad showed people who were different washing each other's feet. What would the world be like if all of us became foot washers? God bless you. Hope you have a good week. Trust in the Lord and stay in the Word.